Hello, and welcome into another edition of Tech in 10, the Louisiana Tech Bulldogs football show. From the Ruston Daily Leader, I am sports reporter Matt Belinson, coming to you after Louisiana Tech's 56-30 loss to the Liberty Flames. The Bulldogs are now officially 3-7 overall and officially out of bowl game contention for the third straight year. I think if you went into tonight's game thinking the Bulldogs were going to win, first of all, I'd like to know what you were having to drink, first of all. But second of all, I think I would really truly like to know how you thought Louisiana Tech was going to be competitive. I think if you just looked on paper, Liberty dominated in pretty much every single category offensively and defensively this year in Conference USA, ranked top 5 nationally in a lot of things offensively, including rushing. You look at Louisiana Tech, they're a bottom 10 rushing defense in the country. And so I think on paper, I think it was pretty clear what was going to happen just based on previous results. And, it matched up to it. Liberty wins 56-30. It's the most points the Bulldogs have allowed in 7 seasons. And the Flames, are now it's kind of just poetic, I think, of just how drastic these seasons have gone, where you come into the year thinking Louisiana Tech could potentially contend, to be a Conference USA title contender. You thought Liberty was going to be pretty good preseason favorite. And tonight Liberty clinches the Conference USA championship hosting, responsibilities, against you. And you now fall to, out of bowl eligibility for the third straight year. It's just a collection of things we don't have time to get into in this one particular episode. I think for me, the most concerning part about all of this is that for 22 games, which is since Sonny Cumbie has arrived here at Louisiana Tech, your defense, yours in Louisiana Tech, is so bad. I can't even describe how bad it is. I'm just going to get into the raw numbers here, and you're free to judge who's responsible for that and whether that's the players, coaches, etc. This is just from tonight. 602 yards allowed. 602 yards. It's just incredible. Again, 56 points, the most allowed since 2017 for Louisiana Tech. And then since 2022, again, since Sonny Cumbie and Scott Power, the defensive coordinator from Stephen F. Austin, came to Louisiana Tech, 22 games in total. They have allowed over 400 yards in 14 of those games. 14 of 22 games, you've allowed over 400 yards. 14 times you've allowed over 30 points. 8 times you've allowed over 40 points. Fifth game this year, over 400 yards allowed. There are just no words for just how bad this defense is. The talk all offseason was we brought in these great linebackers, new defensive line. Most of our secondary is back after losing a couple, key pieces, but we brought in some new guys as well. And it's clear that the transfer portal additions have not made a difference. You certainly have been better against the pass. You're still, I think, a top 20 defense, against the pass after tonight. We'll see how other teams in the country do, but you're good against the pass. You got Willie Roberts back there, who's had a really great season, but you can't stop the run. That's 2 straight years now that you're going to finish, a bottom 10, bottom 5 unit in the entire country as a run defense. That's pathetic. I don't understand how an FBS program can overhaul a roster like this and continue to not stop the run. You knew coming into this game that Quentin Cooley and Kaidon Salter, were going to be really good, just getting the ball out quickly, open field. Obviously, again, they ranked top 5 in a lot of different categories in the country. You put up no resistance. Liberty didn't punt until 8 minutes left in the fourth quarter. And they scored, they scored touchdowns on 8 of their 10, possessions tonight. It's just embarrassing. I don't know how, as a defensive staff and defensive, unit, you can just continue to roll out there like this and just say, well, yeah, we're just going to, have to, I guess, figure out a way to, hope our offense can score 35, 40 points tonight, because clearly we're not going to be able to stop anyone on the ground. You still have to play Jacksonville State too, which is, it's pretty amazing that this team is still in that position. So, again, just an embarrassing night on defense for this team. And I asked Sonny Cumbie directly, after the game, again, 3 straight years without a bowl game for this program, now 2 straight under Sonny Cumbie and this coaching staff. What exactly are the Bulldogs playing for at this point? And he gave a pretty direct answer. It was a really long-winded answer, but he gave a pretty direct one. Was just saying that he wants to see what players are worth keeping on this roster, point blank. He mentioned the transfer portal in his answer towards the end about how in today's college football, again, kind of like last offseason, they brought in all this talent from FBS programs, and they thought, okay, this for sure is going to make a difference. We're going to be a different team. And Clearly, you're not. You're 2 games away, from finishing with the same record that you did last year. You get Sam Houston State and Jacksonville State, but Sonny Cumbie mentioned he wants to see guys that fight. He wants to see guys that care. And I'm not going to call individual players of who might not care. I mean, I certainly I'm not on the field with them and can't know that personally, but it's clear when you don't tackle someone, when you have penalties on third down, when Liberty is still driving and it's still relatively still a game, and you're undisciplined, you're not playing smart football. You don't capitalize, after a turnover, you go 3 and out. He just wants to see players that are worth keeping on this roster, that are worth building with, that are worth fighting with. Because it's clear that through 2 seasons now, there are players on this roster, coaches on this roster, just people in this program that are clearly not putting forth their best effort. Because if that were true, they wouldn't be 3-6, 3-7 for 2 straight seasons. That doesn't happen to programs that are putting their best foot forward and competing and fighting till the very end. I mean, Sonny Cumbie has mentioned multiple times, even tonight, that he continues to see a team that does not execute for 4 quarters. I don't know how that happens at this point when your bowl game eligibility is on the line. Again, I understand that Liberty is the best team in this conference, but to not even put up a fight, I just don't understand it. Again, as someone that their athletic career stopped in high school, I'm certainly not one to talk just in terms of the fight and the will of players, but the scoreboard speaks for itself. I mean, you got blown out on the road against the best team in the league with, as players said, nothing to lose. You go in there with freedom to play. Liberty had the opportunity here to clinch the Conference USA hosting title, so they had something to play for. They had the pressure on them. They were the undefeated team. With Liberty, potentially trying to get to that New Year's Six bowl game. I mean, the pressure's on them at this point. And you just saw Louisiana Tech just fade into the background and just kind of roll over there for a majority of the evening. And the defense is just pathetic. I don't know if you're going to make coaching staff changes in the offseason. I think it's pretty clear in this past offseason you brought in all these new players, and what result did that bring you? Pretty much the exact same thing outside of your pass defense. So I'm not really sure what the answer is there, but it's clear that change has to be made at some sort of level. Offensively, again, it doesn't really matter because you get blown out. But for what it's worth, I thought Hank Bachmeier played really well. Liberty came into this game leading the country in interceptions. Hank Bachmeier, after 2 fumbles against New Mexico State, turnover free for him, turnover free for this offense. They didn't have a single one. And, I thought he played really well. Again, it was in a losing effort. You lost by 26 on the road, but he finishes his night 23 of 33 for 304 yards, 2 touchdowns. Again, no interceptions. I thought they did a really good job in the first half, kind of building some tempo, kind of getting Liberty off balance for a minute there. But, then they just kind of went away from it, and running backs, weren't hitting the hole. Tyree Shelton, I don't know if he's still injured or what, but him, Jacob Fields, Keith Willis, I thought had a pretty solid game, 2 rushing touchdowns for him. But there were just a lot of times tonight where you were like, but the first down is right there, or the hole's right there, and things weren't happening. And Sonny Cumbie, I think he was holding back as best he could post game. He said he doesn't understand why his running backs were tiptoeing, when holes were there for first downs. And you don't understand how, I guess, through a game where you're getting blown out, why guys aren't just taking the hold that's taking the yards that are available at this point. You need all the opportunities you can get, and guys are still freelancing and not executing. And again, you get third down penalties inside the red zone, and you're forced to punt. You get a field goal on your first drive. Offensively it wasn't perfect. But I thought overall, Hank Bachmeier, again, the last 2 weeks since he's come back from injury after being benched, I thought he's played really well. I think he has shown, again, whether or not he comes back next year for his final year of eligibility, we'll see. But through the next 2 weeks, I think you just want to see Hank continuing to fight. I think he's one of those guys that you're seeing just in terms of production, just on-field production. He's willing to produce for you. Again, he's playing turnover-free football. He's making winning plays. He's leading scoring drives. Again, it's in a losing effort because your defense gives up 600 yards. But I thought he played pretty well. Accuracy-wise, had some struggles there in the first half, was definitely missing some open receivers, definitely could have picked up some first downs there. Second half, I thought he did really well. He was finally getting Smoke Harris the ball. I still don't understand why this offense is so feast and famine with Smoke Harris. He has 11 catches, for 3 straight weeks, over 130 yards. And then through the first half, he didn't have a single official catch. One was wiped away from a penalty, and then he didn't have a first half catch. I mean, I just don't understand that, how you're trailing as big as you were, and you're not force feeding your best player. Again, certainly, guys can be covered well. Okay, that's fine. That's all well and good. But I'm sorry, the best players in the country, they're given the ball, and teams have to make them stop you. So I just don't understand why Smoke Harris doesn't get force-fed as often as he is. But again, that's just I'm on a long list of questionable things this season. So bottom line is Louisiana Tech falls 56-30 to Liberty. Bowl game hopes out the window. Louisiana Tech searching for players that have to fight and care about this program. It's kind of similar if you go back to my post-game videos with UTSA, Charlotte, and UAB last year. It was a similar message with Sonny Cumbie about wanting to find players that want to fight and keep around in this program. So, if you're a Bulldog fan, it's unfortunate that this is the second straight year where, optimism was there at the beginning and now it's all pretty much just dashed away, and you're about to head into another offseason with a lot of questions about the coaching staff, the players on the roster, and frankly, just the direction of this program. I tweeted out after this game, this program had a seven season streak of making a bowl game from 2014 to 2020, and now you're on 3 straight years without one. So take with that what you will. Again, off-season wise, I don't know where that change is going to come from. But we shall see. There's 2 weeks left. The Bulldogs return next week at home against Sam Houston State, still looking for their first FBS win of the season. So I guess there's something to play for that. So that's going to do it for this week's edition of Tech in 10. For the Ruston Daily Leader, I am sports reporter Matt Belinson saying thank you for listening. Have a good one.